So I'd like to introduce my one of the longest lasting friends and, and one of the best, Giovanni Segantini. And we are sitting here at the lake of Lugano in South Switzerland, where she lives at the moment. And would you like to introduce yourself? Because I don't know how to introduce you. Who are you?
Who are you? That's a good question. Identity finding. Thank you very much, Pavla, for having me. Very honored and happy to be talking from this wonderful lake. I do live here with my family, but that's not my hometown. I grew up just 100 kilometers up north, up in the mountains, a little village called Maloja near Samoritz, from a Norwegian mom and an Italian father, so I'm of mixed origins. And yeah, I grew up in an artistic house from an artist family. My father was a surgeon, so I grew up in a very privileged little village in Switzerland. I went on studying international relations in Geneva. Then I traveled the world for about 12 years. I was abroad from everywhere, from London, New York, India, Brazil, all over the world. And then I found sort of new discovery and passion that I sort of had lingered within me, and that's the Arab world. That's when I started to work for the International Red Cross, and I learned Arabic from scratch. I also had my PhD in Arab Islamic Studies.
And that's something I'd like to come to, but you said you come from an artist family, but your father's a surgeon, so just can you explain where is the art in the family?
So the art in the family is my great-grandfather Giovanni Segantini, who is a very famous artist in Switzerland, Italy and Austrian. He was also of mixed descent, and my grandfather. So they were both very renowned painters, and their paintings are hanging in all the big museums in the whole world.
The truth is that actually the Segantini family is the only one, I think, in the world, really, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, the name Segantini doesn't exist. Actually, we made once a little experiment, and when you told me you're the only ones in Switzerland, I sent a postcard, just Giovanni Segantini, Switzerland, and it arrived to your home, so it was true. And anyway,
we're a small family.
There is like in St. Moritz, there's a museum of your great-grandfather and grandfather, right? Both of them, or?
Yeah, there's a big museum dedicated to my great-grandfather in St. Moritz, and we have a smaller museum in Maloja, and that's like a house museum. My mom is an art historian, so she's got this sensitivity towards art, and I'm really grateful for my parents to have kept the house the way it used to be at Giovanni's times. And basically only after the death of my father I decided to sort of contribute and take over the maintaining of the cultural heritage of the family.
You also are probably the only person I know who speaks 10 languages, which is absolutely amazing because you speak all of them really well or fluent. What was your first word? In which language?
Sure, Mama is international. No, it sort of became quite natural as well, because when you grow up in Switzerland, you've got 4 national languages anyways.
Yeah, but not every Swiss person speaks them. Right?
No, totally not. But I grew up in an Italian minority where they also speak, just in the village next door, Romansh, so you sort of have the ear already. I grew up with Norwegian, obviously, with my mom. Italian and then later German, and the other languages that just come. And basically what helped me was that I was just traveling and always living and working in the different countries, and that's how I sort of sucked up the whole culture. And obviously
suddenly what brought you to this Arab world? Because actually most of European people really either don't like the Arab world or they are indifferent, but I know very few people who love it, and you're one of those.
I was just captured by it. I mean, I had the luck to be sent as my first mission by the International Red Cross to Syria, and I learned Arabic from scratch, and I learned it in cafes, strolling around in the dwelling in the old town of Damascus, and it was still magical then. It was
back
the war,
yes.
in 2000, and so I just learned to love the civilization, the culture, the food, the people, the mentality, the amazing hospitality, and I sort of, you know, really learned it very quickly. My mom was the only one who actually visited me,
okay.
And we, you know, toured Syria with my old Peugeot for 3 weeks, and she also looked at me and she said, "My daughter, I think in a previous life you were born here, or you had some amazing connection." And now recently I also had the privilege and the pleasure to have my professional life in Saudi Arabia, where also, you know, my family came all the way from Switzerland to Saudi Arabia. And of course, with COVID, things became, you know, difficult, so the family moved back to Switzerland. But I'm still with one foot in the Middle East and with the other one in Switzerland.
And of course, actually looking at you, like one would think, how can this blonde modern woman live in the Arab world? I mean, have you faced ever any sort of bad looks, harassment?
That's all stereotypes. I can say quite bluntly that I had more problems with either machos or you know, guys in the hierarchy in Switzerland than I had problems in the Middle East. I never ever faced any issues with Arab men or harassments or any comments or looks on my clothing. I'm walking around like this.
Really? You don't have to be covered?
No, it's all nonsense. People don't know. They're all stereotypes.
Okay.
People are afraid because they don't know Islam. They don't know the culture. Obviously, there are a lot of problems still, like in all civilizations and cultures and religion. I think all extremisms, and not only in Islam, are a big problem. But you can't judge, you know, a whole people, like, you know, all the youngsters. You have to. I take the example of Saudi Arabia, where I live, you know, nowadays. Over 70% of the population is under 25. Over 30 million Saudis who really want to be part of the change, and the kingdom is changing, is opening up, is, you know, it's really happening.
Okay.
So it's a privilege to be there and be able to contribute humbly with my background and my knowledge. But the most wonderful engine in my daily work is to work with all the young Saudis who really want to make a change. And I'm not saying that there aren't any problems and everything is perfect in the kingdom or in the Middle East, but we have big problems in Switzerland as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at you know, they were just celebrating this year 50 years of women voting in Switzerland. How embarrassing is that?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even celebrate it. I've never seen such, as I said, hospitable people. They open their homes, their hearts.
Do you think all this great experience you have from the Arab world is connected basically with the fact that you speak the language and you love them and they feel it? Because I mean, like, you know,
yeah,
if I go there, would they treat me the same way?
Of course,
like you.
If you respect them, if you respect their culture, their traditions, you know, without being, you know, different. I was always authentic. Mm-hmm. I'm not a different Diana when I'm there. I'm always the same Diana, but I always adapt to the culture and to the traditions. So I would never go in spaghetti straps and in hot pants to the market of Morocco. No, so they would treat you exactly the same. The kingdom was closed until 2 years ago.
What was the reason it was closed?
It was just the regime. I mean, look at Iran today. The people didn't change. They were always educated. They were always extremely intelligent. They were always, you know, having education abroad. The difference now, they're coming back to their home to really be part of the change. Before it wasn't possible because women couldn't move around freely. They had to have their abaya, they had to be veiled, they had to be, you know.
Not anymore now. If you go there, I mean, like you see women who are not.
Of course, the Saudi women are still covered. They're very, you know, very linked to social traditions, to spirituality, to, you know, they're very religious as well. So, you know, you can't condemn that. But
do they try to convert you or anything like that?
Never,
I mean, like, or do you talk about religion at all when you're there? I mean, like,
yes, of course.
Okay.
But I don't need to convert to be respectful and knowledgeable about Islam. Of course, I know conservative families, and that not only in Saudi but also in other Arab countries. You know, when I was in Egypt, especially in the rural areas, obviously they're much less sort of modern or up-to-date than the urban areas. And so this is a very normal tradition that you were eating, you know, only with the women in the kitchen or in the dining room all together on the floor. And I had the most wonderful lunches and big solidarity and sisterhood among these women. So we should stop sort of thinking in our Western sort of view, like, oh gosh, you must feel horrible.
You must have definitely women who don't really want to do their fingernails all the time, and they don't want to sit around beauty salons. They want to be out, they want to work, they want to study, they want to be part of the society, they want to talk to male and female sort of groups. How about that?
They do that every day in Saudi, every day, and it took one royal decree to empower women, and that's so happening, and they're already overtaking a lot of Western countries. I mean, take only the, you know, equal wage for women and men.
Is it there?
A fact.
Really?
That's a fact now. Already 1.5 years ago or 2 years ago. Where are we here in Switzerland? We're still debating about it. In Parliament.
And there it's happening.
Of course it's happening. So let's, you know, be a bit humble and see what the problems in our own, you know, surroundings are and countries are before we go and judge otherwise.
Because you're going again tomorrow to Riyadh.
Exactly.
Tell me, if I decided to go with you, what would be the first you would show me there? I mean, like, what is the best about Saudi Arabia, really?
Oh, you know, when you come to Riyadh, you've got this, you know, amazing, bustling city, and it's just, you know, it's a great energy. Art district with different museums, with academies, where the arts and culture is really having a revival, or actually is being discovered. Everything that is developed now, it's based on solid cultural heritage from Saudi Arabia. So you have a lot of archaeology. You've got so many beautiful other more rural areas to visit. You've got
like about markets and food.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I mean, like,
it's a great place to visit, and it's open for tourists now. You can apply, you know, tourist visa online. There
are probably not so many tourists yet, so now is the time to go, is it? I mean, like, it's not completely full.
No, totally not, because they opened up 2 years ago, and then COVID hits, and so life is expensive in Saudi. Yeah, totally.
Okay, did we forget anything?
Ahla wa sahla.
What is Ahla wa sahla?
Ahla wa sahla is welcome, and this is because they're so hospitable.
Cheers. Do they say cheers?
They say cheers, they say sahha, but alcohol is still forbidden. So we're in Switzerland now.